introducing our panelists and a little bit about what we're doing here today. And we'll hope that Shalise will join as we're getting started, and I'll go ahead and read her bio last. But welcome to the Unicorn Speak panel, where we'll be discussing the experiences of Black autistic women in the workplace. Innovative Supports for Autistic Workers is a training and consultation project for employers here at the University of Kentucky's Human Development Institute. And we work with employers to help them understand the experiences of autistic people at work and how they can be better at hiring, supervising, and retaining these valuable workers. Today, we'll be hearing specifically from Black women and non-binary people in the workplace who are autistic about the experiences that they have. We will hear from Jaz Brown, who is one of our LEND trainees here at the University of Kentucky. Jaz is an autistic disability rights activist, artist, and writer. Their work focuses on the intersection of disability, queerness, and race. And when they're not doing advocacy work, they find solace in watching old movies at home with their husband and 2 cats. Tony Cheeks is a licensed mental health therapist who helps neurodivergent women and non-binary individuals identify their strengths and manage challenges to improve their overall well-being. And I'm going to put the links where you can find all of these people, their social media or their businesses in the chat as soon as I'm finished talking about everybody. Like Stix, Alexis Stix Brown is a Kentuckiana visual artist. She does some really cool stuff in different mediums, and is best known for her sock monkeys. We also have with us Shalise Hurd, who is an online influencer teaching autistic people to travel the world, self-advocate, and build financial independence. And I will put Shalise's links into the chat box as well. Our host today is Brittany Granville, who is a disability specialist and a graphic designer here at the University of Kentucky. And I will let her tell anything else she would like to reveal about herself, and we'll get started with the questions.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Brittany.
All right. Hi, as Bev said, I'm Brittany Granville. I'm from Lexington, and I mostly work as a graphic designer and whatever else people need me to do here at University of Kentucky. Oh, HCI. And this panel is really special to me because it covers my identities, and we get to discuss them and everything. And I chose the title Black Unicorns for this title because here she comes. Sorry.
I got mine too, so.
You decided it was time to walk on the keyboard.
Yeah.
But I chose the title Black Unicorns because often at work and in social situations, I tend to feel like I'm like a 4-in-1 special, you know? I'm queer, Black, autistic, and a woman. I'm like the ultimate diversity hire, or like a special unicorn that they had to go out and track down. And the Black unicorn has been used by other Black women to describe the same intersectionality that they feel in society, such as Audre Lorde, who famously wrote the poem "The Black Unicorn." which I think I sent along with the link to everyone, and the collection of poems in the book called The Black Unicorn. So with that, with my rambling, I'm going to start the questions. And question one for our panelists is just for our panelists. I know Bev introduced you, but let's see. I just wanted to see if anyone wanted to say anything about themselves that they'd like to add, such as your name, age, pronouns, and what you do for a living.
My name is Alexis Stix Brown. As Bev introduced, I am a visual artist, Kentuckiana visual artist. I am an entry-level employee at a warehouse, a large corporation. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm gonna say that before. Okay. But where I work is really important because it brings income. And so I strategically chose like easy jobs so that I could focus on my art, which if I'm doing an easy job, then all my energy will go to my art. So I'm 40 years old, and I've spent probably every waking moment trying to get away from anything that would keep me from my art. And it's been interesting to see that I'm constantly trying to escape something. And trying to understand what that was also very confusing. So at the age of 40, I realized I've probably been masking my entire life, and just right now understanding what that means, and then the health issues it can cause. But I'm so grateful for social media that I have access to terminology that alleviates so much stress, and the cultivation of spaces like this. Everything that led to this opportunity to be in this space with you all has been very peaceful. And I'm hoping that this could exist in work culture as well. So I'm interested in exploring that and learning from all of you how you achieve what you do on a daily basis. So thank you for this opportunity.
I'll go next. My name is Jaz Brown. I go by they, them pronouns. I identify as non-binary. I'm also like autistic and have multiple disabilities. And I do think that some of them are because of the stress from masking for so long, especially my autoimmune disorder. As far as like what I do for work, I am a part of the HDI's Kentucky Lend program. I call that my job, but it's technically supposed to be like a graduate school like class that gives you a stipend to do projects. Before then, I was not working and have not been working for a year. I am one of the large percent of autistic people where it's very, very difficult for me to hold down a 40-hour-a-week job. And I tend to be overqualified for a lot of like 20-hour-a-week jobs. So it's been very interesting being in the disability activists and like disability justice space lately, because a lot of people actually take your expertise on like all of the little skills that you have instead of looking at a very robust resume. And then if you deliver, then everybody's perfectly fine and happy. So I've been finding a lot of success in actually being around my people, whereas before, not so much.
I can go next. As Bev said, my name is Tony Cheeks. I am a licensed mental health therapist. I identify as a ADHD, ADHD, and autism. And it shows up in a variety of ways. I'm a late discovered individual because I am 45, and it really wasn't until my second child was born and was diagnosed with autism that I started to really delve into this and to see how I can help her. And it's just like, wait, that's me. um, I'm just like Stix. I masked all my life. I did not really struggle No, let me take that back. I've always struggled, but I could hide it really well. I would go ghost on people. So like I would like in college, I would just be in my dorm room like all weekend and just like not answer the door or whatever, just to kind of like re-energize, because it was just it's so tiring and it's so hard, you know. But when I had my son, my oldest, that's when I started to struggle even more. And it's just like, what is wrong with me? Why everybody seems to have this together? Like, why am I struggling so hard just to do what people would assume is basic stuff, right? But it was a relief to me, just like you said, Stix, it was a relief to me to kind of put vocabulary to those things. And just like with you, Jazz, working 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, I literally was in burnout. So much so that depression took over and I was very suicidal. So I left my 9 to 5, went back to school to become a therapist so that I can have more control over my hours and then really do the thing that I love, which is helping people without all the bureaucracy and, you know, having to do what other people are telling you to do. So I had just a little bit more freedom when I created my own practice. And then I desire to help, just like I pour into my children, to try to help them understand themselves so they don't have to go through what I experienced for the first 40 years of my life. I strive to do that for others as well. Help them understand their brain, help them understand how to advocate for themselves, and just know how to really take care of themselves. So that's me.
Great.
And I am Shalise. I'm also going by she and her. I go by she, her, and I'm 34 years old, going on 35 the week before Christmas. I identify as autistic, and throughout my life, I have 2 master's degrees, and I've always struggled to keep a full-time job. First of all, it was hard enough securing the job, and even when I did secure it, it wouldn't last very long. I've been a social worker, I've been a geologist before, so I've had that experience, but it's really interesting to me because I've tried to focus on jobs where I could, just get my income that's easy and doesn't take a lot of bandwidth for me so that I can pour into my traveling and my special interests, to travel and travel blog. And so it's like, it reminds me of how Alexis was saying how she's always running away from something. And in my case, I felt like I was always trying to, get away from things that would take away too much bandwidth from me while chasing something else. I'm always chasing something that's going to be easy while I build this blog of mine. And on the other hand, I've actually found more freedom in creating my own businesses. Like I would actually rent my cars out on Turo. I rented Airbnbs, like doing self-employed gig work, even though it doesn't give me the certainty I want with income, I find more freedom in it because, I'm not bound by having to deal with office politics, which that was a lot of the thing that would keep me stuck in my previous jobs. I had a hard time because I couldn't understand a lot of the office politics and what was expected of me. And just the toxicity of dealing with coworkers took up so much of my mental space that I couldn't even focus a lot of the times. And then the burnout was really bad. And when I transitioned from full-time work to try to find something part-time to pursue my passions, I can relate to Jazz in the sense that being being as educated as I am, I was very much overqualified for those positions that would allow that, which is why I found freelance to be more freeing.
Okay. Well, my next question was about like when you realized that you were autistic, but I think all of you kind of covered that in the introduction.
Oh, I was early diagnosed. I was diagnosed at the age of 2.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I'll say that I've never been diagnosed with anything.
Oh,
But
sorry,
I
I didn't mean
found
like,
that everything's new to me. Actually, I'm just grateful to be in this space for real. Because I joined the neurodivergent group. I love the word, first of all. I was like, ooh, what's that? Because I'm not one to be joining groups now. And so from there, I just felt this peace that, and it was a nice pace of repetition of people just hanging out and being like, and that's okay. And it's like, how come we don't have more of that? And I'm just feeling myself with all these emotions with everybody talking about being triggered and autoimmune. And, I think the worst part about working with people is understanding that everybody's hurting. And a lot of people are hurting to a degree that they shouldn't have to for simple reasons that we could all help. And when we talk about politics, that's where I get confused because, you can have politics all day, but, let's eat a meal. Like,
Right.
you're watching people just live off of monster drinks and it's actually hurts me to see it. On top of the fact that I've got to stand for, 40 hours a week. So I just like that we have this opportunity to talk about it because it's even new to me. And I'm grateful that people are talking about it because I will say leading up to this panel, I found a lot of calm just knowing that, hey, we can like share instead of just having to keep it to yourself.
Okay. Did anyone have anything else to add about realizing that you're autistic?
I mean, I will say that mine came after a period of burnout. I was working, I was assistant manager at a GameStop for like 2 years doing retail. So constant, person to person interaction and things of that nature. And then I could not work for 8 months. The burnout made it like went into a deep depression. And I think that's how a lot of people who were late diagnosed, that's how our body forces us to figure it out in a way. And I know
Yeah.
that's how I was diagnosed. So
Yeah. All right. What about education? What was your highest level of education and what did you find difficult about school?
I'll go for this one. I have dropped out of college twice now. Twice. The first time I was going to be an English teacher. Second time I was going to go in to do the whole thing and be a therapist. And the first time I had a little bit of a period of burnout, and then I just didn't go to class again. 19. It's pretty, I think, stereotypical of some 19-year-olds. And then this last time, even though I got diagnosed by a psychologist, my school, Indiana University Southeast, I will shout them out because their office was not very nice, required certain specific pieces of paper that had a wait list of 2 years to get in order to give me accommodations. And so I just kind of decided, no, there's got to be a way that I can live my life without having to do this. Which has turned into me joining a lot of activist groups, like participating, just kind of like organizing in the city. And a lot of that has been really nice for mutual aid reasons, because if I can provide some kind of service for you, you can kind of help me out with something with that. So I've been very lucky to avoid school. I will say that. I've kind of had to, but it is what it is.
And I would say I got, my master's degree. That's my highest level of education that I got. And the most difficult thing for me was just the burnout because it became difficult to focus on my studies and to focus on maintaining a great average, especially once you get to grad school, they're very strict about your GPA, you having to have, at least a 3.0 in order to graduate. Which, throughout my grade school years, high school, elementary school, middle school, I always, got straight A's. I was always the gifted student. But then when I got to college, I struggled to even like get past a 3.5, which undergrad, I managed to get like a 3.2. And then in grad school, that was really the first time I struggled to even get past the 3.0 mark. And I think when I look back on it, it had everything to do with burnout because I noticed a decline in my functioning. I was not able to focus on being in school full time while also remembering to eat, remembering to exercise, remembering to even do simple things like bathing. Like trying to succeed in school and do what everyone else makes look easy. Doing the basics it came at the expense of the things of taking care of myself. And so the only thing I can chalk it up to is the fact that having to manage everything is burnout.
Mhm. Mhm.
And for me, I also, my highest level is a master's degree, and I actually have three because before I became a therapist. I was a teacher for 14 years. And for me, school was the difficult thing about school was I laugh too because I went to IUS, Jazz. Um, structure. I thrive in structure. And some professors just got to do it their way. And it's like, but you said at the beginning that it was going to be X, Y, and Z, and now you're changing it, and like that's not cool. Like, and I would have these times when I would have a discussion with the professor in a way that, you know, I expressed my disagreement in how things have run, you know. So that was hard. Actually balancing everything was really hard too. Um, I was identified as quote unquote gifted. I was in several programs growing up that was supposed to like highlight this giftedness, but still didn't understand me. So that was a struggle. Um, but when I went to school, undergrad, disaster GPA, because it's like, what am I doing? How do I even focus? I can't finish reading a book because my ADHD is just off the chain. And at that time, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know why I was struggling so much. But then when I got into grad school and I was getting A's, it's like, well, wait a minute. This is a little smart. Maybe I do have a little something. But it was difficult just trying to figure out how to do these things in a way because I struggle with executive functioning issues. With organization sometimes with actually, you know, impulsivity and things like that. So sensory issues will keep me out of a lot of places too. So those things came into play when I was in school.
Okay.
Thank
Oh.
God. So,
College was, if I can,
oh, you're going.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, college was really difficult for me too. Like, it was just socially. Like, I felt like everyone was going out and socializing, and I was just kind of like by myself all the time for like 4 years straight. But I loved the classes. I was like, oh boy, I get to do my special interests all day long. I get to draw and do art stuff. And they're grading me for it. This is a dream.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I did pretty well grades wise, but socially it was kind of like, I don't know. It was hard meeting people as opposed to high school where everyone's just stuck in the same classes all day long. So you kind of just get acquainted with them whether you want to or not. Um, sorry, I was just adding my own thing.
Oh,
I'm
glad you
just supposed to be
shared.
asking
I
questions.
like this. No, this is great. I love it.
This is
Oh, thanks.
I was gonna say, I love hearing all this. It's just, I've always been looking for my tribe, man. You know, and it gets so lonely, and it's like, I just been looking forward to this day. I was like, just to hang out with y'all.
Aw.
You know,
We should all get lunch
I
after
went,
this.
huh?
We should all get lunch or something.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Definitely.
I'm excited. So my highest level of education is, I have a fine arts degree with an emphasis in drawing. I had the opportunity to attend Bellarmine University on a basketball scholarship.
Oh,
And I'll say, and I really don't like sports. I don't like people touching me. I don't like running. So definitely high masking. It was a great experience, but socializing has always been an issue. I just remember, I'll make a bad decision or something, and a teacher will come talk to me, I'll just start crying. I would just
Yeah.
cry and cry and cry. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm crying, right? So in
Yes.
my mind, I would like try to like
Mhm.
pump myself up, and I would like build blocks, like I'm building blocks, I'm slapping it up brick by brick. I'm not gonna cry. And it's like these tears are just like, what is, the emotions are like out of control. I'm learning how to self-regulate, things like that. And at this age, it's like, I mean, thank God I wanted kids. I wanted kids, but with burnout, I I can't.
I feel
This one lady
you.
was
Yep.
concerned for my dog. I was
That's
concerned
why I
for
can
my
never
dog.
have kids.
They're like, oh,
Same.
this new Jack Russell is so chill. It's like, listen, we don't do anything.
I don't know
Yeah.
how people do
So, you
it.
know, and
Same.
taking the spirit to work, I was excited because I'll pick an easy job because I'm so stimulated by mundane things, especially like the repetition of it. And so I really want to be a dishwasher, you know, but I just can't talk because once I start talking, I'm gonna lose my job. Like that, you gotta go.
You know,
You can't be doing this.
Alexis,
You gotta ask for a raise or something. You know?
no,
I
you bring
love-
up something that's really interesting though,
Yeah.
because I often think about like, man, if somebody could just pay me $30 an hour to just file things in alphabetical order, I would do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Oh, yes.
listen, I'm gonna tell y'all, I get paid $20 an hour to put tape on a box
That's not bad.
for
See,
That's
$10.
not bad.
that's
No,
not
no,
bad just
at
for
all.
that.
But I will say
That
my
sounds great.
autoimmune has been triggered. What's the
Mm.
sacrifice? Is a toxic work environment.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. So where
And
the
it's
money
always a
goes, the
quid pro
toxicity
quo.
goes too, and it's like, can we just talk about it? Like, I was so excited getting ready for this panel because it's like, I don't want to be angry. Like, I'm so tired of like, I've been trying to like pump myself up to like, you know, protect myself and oh, how do you respond to negativity? And it's like so aggravated trying to figure out how to outwit somebody before they get you, and then when you let your
Yes.
guard down, they get you. It's like,
Oh my God,
I
it's
can pay you out for
draining.
like 3 months. Like, you still
You
mad
spend
about
all
that?
your
Like,
energy
listen,
trying to
it's
figure that out.
That's
everyday
a whole other
play. And it's
job.
like, I can't handle it. Like, and the thing is, like,
It's too much.
you have people who are qualified to do a job. Like, I'm more than qualified to put tape on a box. And I do it so well and so efficiently. I do. And I get excited about those things. And actually it becomes it comes a vulnerable spot where I become prey to because where I work at, everybody gets paid the same amount, but there's different work to do there. And so now we're getting into manual labor. And the biggest
Yeah.
reason I wanted to get into this conversation is talking about being you know, dealing with disabilities and being vulnerable to manual labor in a system that reflects a racist society, not purposely and by the individual, definitely not you, but you're helping, you know, this.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
hot topic
It's a
nowadays.
mess and we have to figure it out, but we're only given vocabulary to speak with an individual, to an individual, about an individual, and we're not able to have the opportunity to speak as a whole to the toxic work environment. Like I learned the word culture. I learned to say toxic culture, and the word was out there. I don't know how I formulated it, but thank God I did, because heaven forbid I call somebody racist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then one
I'll
thing
go
we
on
don't
mute
talk
now.
about is
Yeah.
ableism too.
I'm
You
tired.
know,
Ableism.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that's a ism that we don't give a lot of focus on. you
No,
know,
we don't.
and it
And it
comes
needs to
up
be
in a
more.
lot.
I'm curious. I know, like we're asking questions of the panel, but I'm very curious. Do you guys disclose at work
I
that you're
do.
disabled? Yeah.
I've done it, and to be honest with you, I regretted it a lot of the time because
Mhm.
it's a double-edged sword. Because see, I would disclose thinking, and I was naive thinking, oh, if I tell them that I have a disability, they'll understand me, they'll be more willing
Yeah.
to accommodate me.
Yeah.
But then a lot of times it will backfire, because the thing is, like, they will sit up here and then they'll decide, oh, you're not competent, and then they'll start doing little like passive aggressive things to me to try to get me to quit.
Mhm.
You know, I've had that happen to me so many times. Actually, I had it happen to me at my most recent job, where the minute my supervisor found out that I'm autistic, she totally changed her tune with me and started trying to convince me why the role wasn't for me, and was trying to convince me I should quit. And then, you know, because I was protected by a union, I did not quit because I needed the income. And because I did not quit, she started spreading rumors about me and being vicious about it. And you know, there was no hard proof that it was because of my autism. However, it was very sus that
Yeah.
this happened the moment I disclosed. Like, all of this happened the minute I disclosed. Yeah, come on now, I'm not stupid.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll say with manual labor, in the way that we're managed, it's kind of a social acceptance to move up as well. And so you want to show good character. And so I did some manual labor. I was supporting another person that was doing an easier job, and I picked up the slack and did the hard work. And I always look forward to the moment that I could do the job she was doing because it wasn't so much manual labor. And when it came time for me to actually do that job, they wanted me to do the whole thing. And I found out that I was doing her job because she was pregnant, and they can't disclose. And a lot of times we are
Huh.
supporting people who make decisions that don't involve us and are forced to support without knowledge. And that's problematic as well. I think there's a lot of room for growth. That's why I think gentle conversation is important, because who wouldn't want to support a pregnant woman working in the warehouse? But when you don't get those same privileges, what then do you consistently go help all the pregnant people manually doing their labor for the same pay?
Okay, you guys have touched on this a little bit already, but what's the most challenging part of your job?
Well, I'll go first. So
Okay.
my previous jobs, I would say not only was it challenging dealing with pressure, dealing with, meeting deadlines, I'd argue that it was even more challenging trying to be on the same page with the team or my supervisor as far as communication goes, because it was all these like social expectations that they expected me to have, like kind of like what they call reading the room, reading social cues, reading between the lines. They had all these expectations of me that I just could not. It drove me crazy trying to, read around what they were saying. It just drove me crazy to the point where I actually ended up quitting the job. And so it's always the social aspect of the job that's very challenging to me, especially always having to look over my shoulder to see, how do I, move around this person? How should I align in a way that's not going to get used against me? Like it's so draining to even think that way. And as a freelancer, because I do like structure, because that's the ironic thing about what I do, it doesn't have as much structure, even though I thrive on structure. The downside to being a freelancer is that the lack of structure, having to keep myself on schedule and regulated, and it can be uncertain as far as income, which I like that predictability and that routine. So that is also a struggle.
I'll say the hardest part for me is at some point I have done something that has made people change their opinions about me around 6 to 9 months into a job. Something I do really good. People love me. It's great. They say, "Oh, Jazz, you did so much work. We love the work that you're doing. It's great." And then like something I'm not picking up, like reading the room, something in the vibe has shifted, and all the older white women in the office start looking at me funny. And then they start having conversations that I can kind of tell that are talking about me, but they do it like 10 feet away, and I've got an auto processing disorder, so I can't quite listen in. And then that just kind of builds anxiety. And then it's just it leads to me being in a situation where I feel so uncomfortable and I can't really go to anyone about it, that I end up just getting a different job. So to me, that's it's just something happens and I don't know what I did, but I did something and people don't feel the same way anymore.
You put that more eloquently than I did, but that's pretty much the gist of what I go through at work. It's like, for some reason, I can't pick up on it, but then the vibe shifts. They change their mind about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
That's
very
so-
confusing because they're
Yes.
so positive at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the unfortunate things about masking too, because I go into a situation and say, "Oh, I have to put this present in this way so that I am accepted," right? Because everybody wants to be accepted and belong. Um, and then I don't want to be labeled as an angry Black woman because I don't have this smile on my face and I'm not just like jovial. So I feel like I almost have to become a caricature of myself almost. But that's hard to maintain. And then that drops and then it's like, well, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? What's the matter? And it's like, nothing. But I didn't even realize, like, you met the mask. You met my mask. You didn't really get to meet me. And I think that's why I struggle with maintaining friendships a lot of the time, because it's like when I get to be myself, they're like, oh, well, that's different. That's that's not what I was thinking it was going to be, you know. So those are some of the issues that I've had in my past positions, just just the work environment and being vulnerable. You're very vulnerable, because I struggle at times. I don't even want to say it out loud sometimes, but I struggle with times with knowing who's for me and who's not for me. And then when um those people show their true colors, I get so hurt. That those emotions are real, Sticks. Those emotions are so real. And then it's like I just pull back, and I don't want to show myself. But I left my last position because of bullying, people taking advantage. No, she's different. Something's different about her. I don't know what it is, but she's different. And let me try to manipulate the situation to so it can be in that other person's favor. And that hurts. That hurts a lot.
Yes, it does.
So yeah, those were some of my biggest issues in the past.
Mm.
Has anyone else struggled with workplace bullying?
Yes, absolutely. I have. My very first job when I was in college, I was working at a summer camp as a camp counselor. I actually ended up leaving the job because I would get laughed at a lot about the way I would speak. And just, I was very vocal about my special interests because at the time I was really into, well, I still am into bears and geography and things like that. And I would be very vocal about those things in conversation, at lunchtime, and thinking that I'm socializing like a normal person. But then I would get laughed at a lot and made fun of a lot. And I've had people on the job actually try to take advantage of me. Like they decided that, oh, well, she's different, so I could just leave her my workload and I can go hang out and socialize out there. And I had trouble saying no back then. Like I had trouble standing up for myself, and people took advantage of that. And it was just very uncomfortable to stand up for myself and address it, because the fact that there was so much hostility made it uncomfortable for me to bring it to anyone's attention. And so I ended up having a meltdown at work, and then I ended up quitting after that because I couldn't deal with all of the everything that happened piled on, and then I just lost it and ended up quitting.
Yeah.
Mhm. Anyone else?
I'll say what's most challenging for me is watching culture change as so many people and new faces and cultures come into America to work and to live. Watching those cultures has been beautiful, but working together, we haven't addressed any of the problems that America was built on. So working together in that facet is, as an artist, I'll say it's I am honored to be alive right now, like to see everything we're seeing and to watch the birth of technology, and the mixing of people. And I'm just hoping that these conversations create more safe spaces that highly efficient and effective people can work in spaces that don't have to be hostile. Why does efficiency have to be hostile? I don't know.
Especially when you're good at what you do. Like, for me, I
Yeah.
struggled with even getting promotions sometimes. And it's
Yeah,
like, well,
absolutely.
wait, like I have, because I was a teacher, and it's like I've literally moved these kids from like the bottom on their scores to top. I have I have data to prove like that I'm good at this, but because I don't play that networking game, or that, who do you know that knows somebody that can tell somebody, I don't know. I don't have the energy for that, and I don't know the rules for that. And that has always locked me out of getting those higher levels positions. And it would hurt at first, but now I'm like, but that's your loss, because I know I'm good at what I do.
And see, it's beautiful, as above, so below, right? So we do get so low, but the comeback is so strong.
Yeah.
And that's why, it's like, I was excited to have the opportunity just to have a pity party, but it's like, no, like this is it's ebbs and flows. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna complain a little bit, but I'm also here to offer options of what we can do, like how we can change and work that through. I mean, we're gonna be here every day working together. Why not enjoy it,
I think
really
something
look at
you
what that means for people. I don't know why
Yeah.
y'all can't just get along. I just, for the life of me, can't understand it.
Well, there's something interesting I think that you say in there that I think plays into part of the reason why like I will have problems like socially with people at work is that I think a lot of us we're looking at like, you know, logically like the metrics of what we do, how well we do them. And not only that, but we're evaluating, especially as Black people, we evaluate the systems that we are a part of and we can treat them endlessly. And what will often happen is that you'll bring up a better solution in the workplace of, hey, this isn't logical. It'd be more efficient to do this. But everybody takes such personal
Listen,
offense
you
to
done made
that.
everybody so mad that now the whole warehouse is mad.
Mm.
Nobody
That's
likes
it right
you
there.
because you want
Yeah.
to love
Right.
them. We don't want your love. We want your suffering. And going back to my mind is that movie Monsters Incorporated, you know, where they find out that the screams of the children like were put out far less light than their laughter. I was like, why would it take you so long to be? You enjoy doing that. You have to
Yeah.
at some point, like
Oh yeah.
I gotta see that movie again.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So like what was the job search process like for y'all? How were the interviews? What could employers do to improve the interview process?
Well, one thing is for certain. I am sick and tired of those darn personality tests,
Oh my God,
especially
please.
when it comes to those darn entry level jobs, because that was my biggest hang up when I was in college looking for a part-time job. That was the biggest hang up. I would immediately get rejected based on those. And I've actually come to find, and during my advocacy work, I've come to find out that those darn tests are actually ableist because like they rely on things that don't have anything to do with how well you do the job, but they rely on your ability, I guess, to do what they call bootlicking or do what they call moving into the corporation's interests, which a lot of us don't mold very well into that. And yeah, so I've started staying away from jobs that require that. Um, applying the application process to saying in my resume, I get burnt out very easily with that. And so I would have momentum. And then after about a week or so, I have to take a break for weeks at a time because the burnout would just be too great. And then especially when you're getting rejected, no matter what, it's like you're sending your resumes, you're putting in all this energy and bandwidth into the void. That's what it feels like. And then when you finally get an interview, you know, you're answering the questions literally, which I've learned that this was something that I struggled with. I actually learned this a while about myself that a lot of interviews are very abstract. And I have trouble with that. And then they ask questions that have nothing to do with the job. Like they're asking me, if you could choose to be an animal, what would you be? Like, what?
Yep.
So questions like that, I think always get me hung up when it comes to jobs. And so it's like, don't ask stuff like that. Ask what it is. Only ask what has to do with the job. Okay. Like, don't be asking stuff that has nothing to do with anything. Because actually, I think that you're just trying to weed out people like myself when you ask stupid questions like that.
For me, it's the recommendations. Like, I don't know, like, if I have not really gotten to know a lot of people where I work, who am I writing down to recommend anything?
Oh,
Like,
yes, that one. That's hard because I don't really socialize with people at work for obvious reasons. So
yeah, it's,
recommendation.
we keep it light. So what they recommended?
And then it's hard to
very
even
light,
trust
very
anyone.
dry.
Very.
And even the people who say that they're going to recommend you, you don't know if you can trust them to actually send you a good recommendation, if they're actually going to send something bad. Like you don't know if you can trust anyone just because they tell you, because I've experienced so much disappointment with people in the workplace saying something to my face and then behind closed doors is another story. Like
Yeah.
drives me crazy, makes me want to pull out my hair.
For me, I would just love it if they could send interview questions ahead of time.
Oh,
I
yes.
I know that a lot of holistic people, like non-autistic people, kind of view that as like cheating, but I really don't think that interviews test improvisational skills as good as people think they do. And they're only testing them conversationally. They're not talking about like, if I'm in the middle of a work task and I need to improvise, can I do it? Like, you're not testing my skills. You're just doing a vibe check. And I just think that that's not really good logically for your company. So if you give the interview questions, you'll give autistic people time to prepare. You'll give literally accessibility for anybody is good, and you will have better interviews
Yes.
regardless. So
you
that
have
would be
that-
my main piece of advice.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you have
You
that
know, they let
standard-
us study in school. Why can't they let us prepare for a job interview? I mean, that's what we were taught, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
literally.
If we have that standard for jobs, I feel like we should have that standard for healthcare as well. I get so frustrated that I wait for 3 months to go see a specialist, and I sit there and I want to know what's going on. And they ask me several questions that I don't have the answer to, that I had 3 months that I could have looked up and gave you. And then that's my meeting is
Yes.
over. Like, could you
Mhm.
not just ask
Another 3 months
Yes.
to the next one.
another question?
Yeah.
I got 12 more
Yeah.
ailments.
Right.
So
Same with
frustrating.
paperwork too. Let's get this paperwork ahead of time. Let's get this
Right.
over with.
Help me help you. I need help. I'm
Yes,
asking
yes.
here.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, do you think it's better to work around your special interest, or would you rather let's see, sorry. Or would you rather do something completely unrelated to your special interests and just keep it for yourself?
I think working in my special interest, because I've always wanted to know why people do what they do. Like undergrad, I was psychology.
Mm.
Like that has always been my interest. Like I studied body language, like all of that. That has always just been something I've done in my free time. And it helps me with burnout. Because if it's something that I enjoy, then I can kind of keep the momentum going with it, versus when it's something that I don't like, then it's like it's already a battle for motivation and to get things done. So for me, working in my special interests or something that I just, because I love being creative too, something that I enjoy, just makes it easier to just keep going when you do come across those challenges.
I work in mine, so I've always tried to work connected to mine. I've got to. I can't do it otherwise.
Yeah.
If I'm not interested in something, my ability to get it done is so it's so low, especially when it comes to things I got to do, like get my driver's license renewed, things like that. Like if I can't tie it, like even like a reward to my special interest to the task, like it's very difficult for me not to do. But on the flip side, making my special interest my work has made me hate some things that I used to really love and enjoy. So it's kind of a, it's a really
Double-edged
delicate, literally, it's a very delicate balance. And I'm just now at 29 starting to kind of figure it out.
Right. What is your special interest, Jess?
I have too many, and that's also a problem.
Okay.
Is that they change every 3 months. Right now, it's vampires and TTRPGs and disability justice.
Ooh.
So
What kind of
I'm
jobs are there in
trying,
vampires?
writing, and
Um,
I don't know. I love them so much, though. I could talk about them all day.
vampire job.
I have to at least have some work related to my special interest because I just can't do anything I'm not interested in, point blank, period. Because what happens is I end up losing interest and then I'm not as motivated to do the work. And then it becomes all about money instead of doing a good job. So I have to have somewhat of a balance because otherwise it just becomes boring and unmotivating. But on the other hand, when I try to put too much pressure to make a lot of money on my special interest,
Mhm.
then it overwhelms me. And so I think it comes down to bringing back my expectations when it comes to money. So I have to decide for myself, is money more important or is my special interest more important? Like that's when I have to decide which is more important, because if I put too much pressure on my interests to make money, then it becomes overwhelming and it's not as fun anymore.
That
Right.
is so true. That is so true. And it goes back to, I work a lot in values, right? So it's like, what do I value in this moment? And that's why I was able to make these very hard choices, because people look at me like, you left that good paying job to da 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 da. Yes, because that's not what I value. I need it to live, but I value freedom and kindness and fun. And that's why I'm a play therapist, because I like to have fun and work with all these different types of toys and stuff. So yeah, that is huge to me, is what is important, what is your value system, and how does it fit into what you do?
I'm with Jazz on that point where it kind of intertwines. And I've been fascinated by that. I am a sloth by nature. And my niece it's been passed down to her as well. And what happens is we just we're very sloth-like, you know? And I'm like, how come humans have to be a particular type of human, but animals can be whatever they are? Uh, I am eyeballing my hammock as we speak. I am going to get in it and I'm going to turn off these lights and I'm going to enjoy this, replaying this conversation in my mind. So as I watched, I've had the great opportunity of being able to really truly live the American dream. I have been chasing just one dream, and it's interesting how that changes and it stays the same. And all I've been trying to do is finance that. So I'm always trying to figure out, well, how can I spend less and how can I make more and what can I sacrifice? And then, sometimes the universe will kick my butt. And I had to pick up all my toys and luckily my parents, they let me come home and cry it out and sleep it out. And, I feel like Jenny off of Forrest Gump, she just slept and slept and slept. And I'm a big advocate for radical rest. I just am now seeing posts about it, but my friends used to call me back in the day and laugh and tell me they called out of work. I just wanted to let you know I called out of work today. I said, that's so good, and I have to be careful when I get around people because it's like, hey, could you stop doing anything? And I'm trying to see what the other side of that looks like. Definitely having more respect for the Amish community and their values. Tell me what you're talking about. I just love that I can see history in time, and why having things kind of stand still is okay in some places. And that's what I'm exploring with my art, is memory and interactive activity. And it's something for everybody, but it kind of lasts forever. And I'm learning now, especially in this group, that cultivating art in this way, it refills me. I always struggle to figure out, how do I refill? And I remember asking a very good friend of mine, how do I refill my cup? And she really couldn't give me a good answer. It's something you have to figure out for yourself. But I found that comfort refills me. And I never knew that I wasn't comfortable. And now I spend like a large majority of my time just relaxing my shoulders. Yeah, I'm like, that's all I do all day. It's like, did you relax? And then my whole body will drop. It's like, and then I'll tell myself I'm healing myself, and it's very painful, the transition of becoming. And I think all these conversations are necessary, and safe spaces are very important so that people can go out into this world and deal with whatever we've created as humanity. But we don't have to die a slow death that can't be proven because it's related to stress. I told my doctors, I said, listen, I don't take these pills when I'm at work. When I'm at home. I only take these pills when I go to work.
Yeah.
And the doctors want you to get on all this medication. It's like, I'm not taking all this medication. I'll take what I think works, and I'll take it when I think I need it. And it's funny that I only need it when I'm going to work. But who wants to say that the two are related? So now you're telling me it's my responsibility to care for myself, and I don't know what that looks like. And I'm interested in, trying to bring about that conversation so people can become advocates for themselves when there's nobody there for them.
Okay. So how do you guys think that your autism affects your work, if at all?
I'm more thorough than I think a lot of other people I've worked with before. They tend to not really get into the details of things, and the details of things tend to be like at the last minute. I think that is something that I really value, like being autistic, is that I can really look at something and see it and enjoy analyzing it from all parts. And I think that really helps my work.
Oh yes, I'm actually quite analytical myself. Like, and not only that, that goes hand in the hand with me being very focused. It's very difficult for me to multitask. So if I'm in the middle of a task or I'm in the middle of a project and I get so in the zone that I hate when I have to multitask, I actually get irritated if I gotta multitask because it's like I'm in that zone and I don't want to get out of it until this is done. And I'm very methodical. I like to have an order in which I do things. And if someone comes and disrupts that order, yeah, that's a problem. And a lot of people seem to just be all over the place when they work compared to me. Like a lot of people seem like they could just kind of go with the flow and just like spread themselves here, there, everywhere. And I can't do that.
Yeah, I saw that a lot, especially in education. Like, you weren't deemed as doing your job if you didn't stay until 7 o'clock at night and you didn't get there until like 9 o'clock, and and when the doors open, and because I'm so efficient and I know what I need to do and I just do it in that order, I get stuff done. And then and people are looking at me like, oh, well, like, why are you able to leave before, when school lets out, when you're supposed to leave? Like, because I did my work instead of talking and doing other stuff.
Was there a little, are you sure there wasn't a little bit of jealousy that you were able to get it done efficiently and they weren't?
Mhm.
A lot of that.
No, and when you do that, like what always happens for me is when I finish early, they go, "Oh, that means you need more," right?
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
can we please discuss this, especially in
It's
manual
like when
labor?
I
Like
worked
my
at,
thing is, and I will go to work and I'll think to myself and say, we could plant gardens, as a
Right.
community if we could get out of work. But if they would just tell us how many widgets they needed, I guarantee we'd all get it done.
And the thing about like one of the jobs I had, I worked in retail, and the thing is, you always had to be doing something.
Yep.
So
Yep.
finished your task early, you always had to be doing something. And I think they would deliberately
Yes.
make you multitask and spread yourself thin because they didn't want you being able to be efficient and didn't have time for
No.
yourself. That mess
Yeah.
was
No,
just,
because then you will go home and plant a garden.
yeah.
Right. That's that
That's
hustle
that's
hustle
the
culture.
whole catch. It's
And I
like,
also think when you think about the way that they pay you, like they promote culture on purpose so that you can't escape it. Like they pay you this way to keep you coming back to them because if you could escape it, they would be out of business.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, what's the best way of working for you? Or yeah, what's the best way for you to work?
I like to know ahead of time what's expected of me, what needs to be done. And I also like to be able to plan my day ahead of time so that I can be efficient. I can actually knock one task out at first, and then I can knock the next task out. I want an order in which things need to be done so that I can be more efficient that way.
Yeah. And that helps me to balance, right? I strive for balance. So I don't want my whole life to be this career.
Right.
There's other things that I want to pursue. Like I said, I like to be creative. I just do make cards or, draw, paint, anything. I just want to have time for that. So when you tell me X, Y, and Z needs to be done, and I do X, Y, and Z,
I'm down.
like, I should be done. Like, give me all of those expectations at the same time
Yeah.
so I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is
for
no end,
Amen.
and it's frustrating because it's like I want to move when my feet want to move. I remember at one point I have rented out an office space in the Starks building, and I was practicing how to live in my office. back then everybody was hyping up how you needed to be homeless to be famous. And I didn't, that's all they were pumping out mainstream was fame. And it's like, I don't need to be famous. I just want to be comfortable, you know? And everybody, so I intentionally made myself houseless for a while. But what I learned during living in my office space was that there were things that I definitely needed, and it was plumbing. And that's where they got me. I was like, I couldn't figure out the plumbing because I needed my own bathroom, you know? And so I've been exploring that as well. I think for me, I'd like to wake up and listen and go where I'm led. And that's when I feel refilled at all times, when I take a break when I want to, when I create when I want to, and I create these memories that I hope come back to me when I'm old, you know, thinking about what do I want my old age to look like. And that's why I pick these mundane jobs, just so I can dream about old age. I've been dreaming about being old since I was like probably middle school, because being what is it called, where you don't like yourself very much, like you're insecure, all the teenage insecurities that you couldn't control in your brain, like
Right.
I just couldn't wait to just get to a point where everything was okay. And then I realized there is no point where everything's okay. And I was like, well, what? You know, Will Smith, you lied to me, bro. Like, and they never ate on those TV shows, you know, we're watching TV all the time. And, you know, it's just such a great opportunity to relearn things. I don't know how that ties into the workspace, but I know that the energy emitting from these spaces keeps us from cultivating these communities.
I will say for me, I I get a little testy with managers sometimes because I don't think that they believe me when I say this, but I need clear, concise directions with deliverable goals, what you would like to have happened, what would be best case scenario, what would be worst case scenario, and then when the task is finished, I need direct feedback. I need clear, concise, what could I do better? What did I do good? And what would you like next time? Because a lot of that stuff is so nebulous and implied that like I want to get better. I like working. I want to do a good job. But if you can't tell me that you want, like you were saying, X amount of widgets at the end of the day, and if that's get done, then if you could sweep or do blah, 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 and then if that's done, then you're good to go, then that would be perfect. That would alleviate so much stress that I can methodically go down that list and get all my stuff done and on time. But a lot of places aren't very, I think a lot of bosses sometimes maybe don't know exactly what they want and are very quick to delegate tasks without really understanding what's required.
Yes, agreed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, last question. How do you feel that your race, gender identity, and autism/neurodiversity overlap in the workplace? And is there any separation between those identities for you?
Shalise, was it you earlier that said you had hit the trifecta of labels?
Yes.
I realized at a young age I was very low on the totem pole. Being an athlete put me up, but once those years were over, I realized that it's not that people don't necessarily like you, it's just that only the strong will survive, you know? And I'm just not that type of strong to be conniving and hurtful and manipulative.
Right.
And so you're starting to see the meek really take in that blunt force of individuals who care less than we do. And that's their right. You know, leading up to this discussion, I just really wanted to be honest and say it's everybody's right to be who they are, even if I'm working with my direct opposite personality. If you have your job description and I have mine, there's no reason I can't coexist with you. Those opportunities to make people feel inferior and have them filling gaps where managers aren't looking because they are quick to delegate really leaves room for a lot of abuse mentally, emotionally, and physically in places that manual labor is involved. I think these conversations are important because I witnessed things that I would go as far to say to me look like elderly abuse, because if you really look at the mentality of a Black man age 68 working in a warehouse, he is hardwired to work until he dies. I've seen these types of mentalities at work, and I see a younger generation of management stand by and watch these elderly people limp to their station and hold down their fort the best they can. And it is tragic. It is also their choice. But they, when they do try to speak out, so many things are on the line. And then for younger people that are raising children, you know, it's just easier to take it on the chin. And you have health insurance. So worst comes to worst, you'll get short-term disability and you'll get back together and you'll find another job, or we've done our part. But we're glad we could help you and thank you for your service, kind of thing, which I will say I'm grateful for that as well. But why are we putting ourselves, I've never been sick before. I've never been sick before, you know, so getting to this age of high masking and being so sick is concerning. It really is.
Oh, yes, it truly is. And, you know, I often grapple with, you know, not knowing whether or not I'm being treated a certain way because of my perceived disability or the disability that people can pick up on the fact that I'm autistic. Or am I treated this way because I'm Black? A lot of times I think it's both. And I would even argue there's a third part of it being a woman. And, you know, if you're in a male-dominated industry, which I was at one point, all three of those come into play because, you know, women are stereotyped in society as being meeker, being more timid. And, you know, combine that with me being autistic and being naturally less likely to be conniving and be a backstabber. Like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm morally superior, but I just believe in really being forthright and honest. And that's not how people get down in the workplace. And things like that tend to make me more of a target at work, on top of the fact that I'm a Black woman.
Yeah, speaking on that, one of the things I often try to tell people, and like, you know, kind of refer back to is like one of the main like tenets and pillars of white supremacy is this belief of the right to comfort. And a lot of people, especially white people, are more concerned about how a message is delivered and if it makes them feel comfortable than the actual message and how it can make them feel uncomfortable. And they're not really willing to explore why something makes them feel uncomfortable. They just kind of want to assign blame to the person who did it. And you know, I think that, you know, the differences between like the cultures is often that like in Black culture, it's much more important to be real than it is to be nice, you know, nicey nice.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, we'd rather be real. And I think that when like we tie it to like the workplace and like how we get treated and stuff, I really think that, you know, it's one of those things. I often think that capitalism is one of the most illogical systems that exists because logically being real in the office would lead to making more money.
Yeah.
Like if we were all just real, like, you know, it would do that, but it's not. And oftentimes what I've experienced when it comes to like gender, because it's very difficult to get anyone to use my pronouns in the state of Kentucky. But when it comes to like, you know, autism and disability and stuff, it's just people only really want to feel good at work. And I have a lack of an ability to make people feel good and get my needs met.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true. And then when they have the perception, like, I think she said something about it before. Just because you're autistic doesn't mean that you have intellectual disability. A lot of people just have assumptions about you as a woman or you as a Black person or you as an autistic person, and then it comes in, all that comes into play, like you said, Jazz, you know, when they're not comfortable because of, sometimes it's because of those perceptions, like they already have this idea in their mind of like how it should be, and then, oh, I think she had a tone, like,
I can't control my tone. Like
yeah,
it's
all it
part of
takes.
autism.
I can't tell you how many times I've been told, because they did try to work with me, if I was a little more like, because I'm very male presenting, and I was an athlete. I'm domineering. I have a strong personality, but my heart is ginormous. But I do enjoy the work I do, but masking it is exhausting. So usually I go on autopilot in my body, and I'm present and I'm doing my job. And so, but my facial expression is very flat and I'm comfortable, and people found it offensive. But I see that the men get to walk around with a facial expression that looks just like that.
Mhm.
And what was happening was, because I work with so many people, and again, people really enjoyed me when I was up. And so, they expected that. And so when I would go eat by myself or try to recharge, they'd see this face, and so many Caucasian people would, aren't you smiling? What's wrong? And it would be so many. And I had to answer everybody. I'm okay. No, it's just my face. I even made up a joke. I said, it's the face my mom gave me, like hoping like, oh, I said, offended her. Like, no, they still ask me. And one guy, I just let him have it. I said, stop commenting on my face. Why are you talking about my face? And then they think I'm crazy. And it's like, no, when you hear this all day long, and I don't even know you people. You don't even know me, and you're talking about the way my face looks. And this is what was getting me in the way of and I remember one time right before I really like fell apart, I went to the manager's desk, and I know they see me coming, they like, oh Lord, here she come. And I go up there, and I'm like Wednesday, I'm like, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to force a smile, and they're looking at me like, oh, stop.
And it's like, I know what you mean about the tone part, because for me, I tend to shut down. And what I mean by that is when things get too overwhelming, or when people are coming towards me aggressively, then I like to either walk away, or I just like, separate myself mentally to the point where I'm just still and I don't do anything, and I just like to be alone. And they take that as a sign of aggression. My silence is aggressive, which I don't understand.
Yep. No, they feel entitled to it. Like not only do they feel entitled to
That
your
energy.
voice, but your energy, and that you also need to make them feel good.
And then I also think to myself, because, I do struggle as an autistic person with meltdowns when I'm being bombarded like that.
Yeah.
And so I do that a lot of times to keep myself from having a meltdown. And it's almost like, oh, so are you doing this to me so that I can go off on you, so that I can have a meltdown? Are you trying to induce me to have a meltdown?
Absolutely, because they need drama. They need a show. They need some dopamine. And it's
Yeah.
not enough in their phone. They need it from a human.
So
Some
you're
people are
entitled.
really hardwired that way, just to poke and poke. And what do I look like? A 40-year adult telling me that this grown woman is harassing me. What do I look like? So when I do have a meltdown, I look like a child. And when I try to defend myself and say, well, hey, I haven't said anything for 6 months. And they say, well, why not? And I say, because I think it's kind of petty to say this person won't leave me alone. I mean, what does that even mean?
Then
This
they
person
say
won't
you're
leave me
being
alone. Like, what did they do to you? Nothing. She just keeps talking, and she knows very much that I would like for her to get away from me.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not even in my department. Why are you standing so close to me? And then that type of intense in my brain, it goes home and I can't sleep.
No, and part of the reason
I'm
why
on the
they're
phone with HR after work, and I'm like, guys, this is not healthy. I went to one of my managers and I said, listen, I'm losing money. I'm using my sick time to take time away from the job because of y'all. I'm not even sick. I just can't even be in here with y'all. And then watching the number of Black people deplete and deplete over years. And I'm like, we are
that part.
endangered species in here. And I've been talking about it for years, and they keep saying, no. I said, y'all want me to say something really rude.
Exactly.
Not that
so they can
person.
fire you.
Whoa, they're not gonna fire me.
They feel entitled. And honestly,
or make you quit.
It
They
could
can't
be
make me quit.
entertainment.
Listen, I don't have nothing better to do with my time than to be here and let you know how much I appreciate this employment.
It strikes me as, them being miserable at the job themselves. And so they think that they can prey on someone for their own source of sick entertainment.
Can I tell you that the
And we're a
person that
target.
was harassing me didn't even need a job?
Wow.
What?
There are people who come to work because they don't have anything to do at home, and they harass people.
That don't make no type of
And
sense.
they give them
Forward.
promotions because they're able to keep people in line. because people don't want to be, and now you've got a lot of immigrants working in there, so they're easier to keep in line, but the immigrants also have a culture to maintain and keep themselves entertained, to whereas the good old Black folks still can't even huddle in groups of 3 or more.
Exactly. Like
It's 2024.
it's toxic.
It's so hurtful. And but to still hold so much gratitude, because without this company, you know, our family has thrived here because of this company. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it goes back and forth, and it's like, how come we can't just have an honest conversation about things that could work, that wouldn't cost you a lot of money? I come from, my mom always celebrates me because she says you do so much with so little. And you really don't need a lot to do a lot. And we as Black
No.
people know that better than anybody. You got this $1 million company, and you worry about lawsuits. We can fix that.
Right.
We can be nice. Like, I don't understand why we can't just be nice to each other. And I'm looking forward to this next generation of children that are coming up. Well, a lot of them that are coming up, because they just ain't dealing with it. They have much better interests than to be upset by the way somebody looks or acts or thinks. They're going to want what they want, and they're going to want it at a very high rate of speed. And I can't wait to get behind them and just finally catch the wave of some honest people.
Well, let's hope so.
Hallelujah.
Now, hey Bev, you want to come back? Bev. Oh, there she is.
Hello. What can I do? for you?
All right. That
I
was the
think-
last of our questions. But does anyone have a question for the panelists? You can ask individually or as a whole. Do we have any questions, or?
We don't have any questions. Oh, one just came up. I'm close to a young adult who is finishing college soon and is experiencing a lot of the things you all have mentioned: neurodivergent, gender confusion, self-loathing, isolation, and so on, and is really struggling. Do you have suggestions for ways they can find support, informal support or formal support?
I can say that if you are finishing college and you consider yourself an academic, there is a Discord group called the Disabled Academic Collective, where you can reach quite literally hundreds of people from all across the world who have different disabilities, who either are in school professors or consider themselves independent scholars like I do. And you can ask a lot of questions about, like, either vent your frustrations or like how to get certain accommodations or how to get published. Highly recommend it. You just Google Disabled Academic Collective Discord and the link will pop up and somebody will send you an invite, and highly recommend. I've gotten a lot of like emotional support from people when things were really hard.
And for me, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have my own practice, because I am going to be starting groups in January in 2025, support groups and groups for caregivers to help them understand how to truly support their neurodivergent child, as well as the neurodivergent individual, how to really kind of understand in your brain, because we are not a monolith. We are all different and we all experience things in a different way. And I think that's one of the myths in society, that, oh, you're autistic, you have to be like this. And that's just so not the truth. And I think that that prevents people from really understanding their individual brain and what they need as an individual to really function well. So that's one of my goals as a therapist, is to really kind of help just pour into them, pour into the community too. Like I said before, ableism is something that we don't talk about. And I want to bring light to that more into our community, especially into the Black community, because we still struggling. I have family members that's just like, oh, because my son is autistic too, just let him go outside and play. It's a little bit more than that. But, you know, getting into sports is not going to help. So really kind of educating the community on what it is and what it's not, so that we truly can help give people what they need to be successful in life.
Thank you. We have one more comment in here and also another question. So I'm going to read the comment first. It's interesting how many people assume the mask or the overly on proactively friendly state is the real or correct version of a person. And then they think they are seeing the off, which might be aggressive, problematic, wrong version of a person whenever their natural default expressions or mannerisms show up. I appreciate that you all point out that people seem to be entitled to that proactively happy presenting side of people. No question here, just wanted to say I appreciate this conversation and the things you all have been pointing out. Thank you. And then we have a question. Can we get the information for Tony's support groups, as well as any other socials or ways to keep up with the work of any of the panelists here? Willing to share in the chat or as a follow-up email. So people want to know more from you, and I don't blame them. So if you have other, I put some links up at the beginning for the websites and social media that I had for you all. But if you'd like to put emails or anything in the chat for people to reach out to you or talk about perhaps the support group that they're asking about.
Is the group that Jazz talked about in the links?
I just sent Bev a DM with a link so that she could post it in the everyone chat because I don't have access to that.
Okay, great. I'll do that.
And I'm in the process of updating all of this on my website, and I'll include a form that you can fill out expressing your interest to join the support groups as well. So you can follow me on my hit me up on my website, tsncounseling.com, and that should be in the chat too.
All right, we'll email those to everyone afterward.
Thank you. Another question. Thank you all for sharing. For those on the panel with children and juggling additional things such as work or school, what advice would you give to another neurodivergent mother when it comes to avoiding burnout?
I think that's just Tony, isn't it?
Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, because it is very, like I said, I thought I was doing good before I had kids, but then when I threw kids in the mix, it just threw it all out the window. But yeah, taking the time to really just take care of yourself. And that's why I feel like these support groups and things are so important, because you need to be around people that get you, get to understand, like, hey, I've experienced that, or my child tried to elope, get out the door the other day, or, and that stuff is scary. And so it has its own level of anxiety and trauma and all of that wrapped up to it. So definitely just find out what you need to do to fill up your cup, like Stix said, and try to make time for that.
And I would also add to that, follow as many autistic adults as you can. Listen to what they say, neurodivergent adults, because they can give you some insight as to what may or may not work as far as, parenting, and as far as what they have to look forward to and what they're up against in this society, being autistic and neurodivergent.
For someone who did not get the links at the beginning, it might have come on a little bit late, I'm going to add those back here in the chat. And while you look at this last question, I'm curious what role gender socialization plays in masking and how autism unfolds differently depending on that socialization, regardless of the person's actual gender identity.
Can I say something about that?
I think so.
Yeah.
So being 6 foot tall, it's so hard to find clothes that fit. And so being like very self-conscious, and then I'm like got knobby knees, I'm all skinny, and it's just awkward, right? And so I started playing basketball, getting my confidence up, and it was so acceptable to wear sweatpants. And I was so comfortable and they fit, and I fell in love with men's clothing. And not just that, but I knew that I didn't have the ability, I was highly agreeable. And so it was like, I kind of looked at it like a layer of protection for me. I was brave enough to go to New York by myself and just walk up and down the streets of Harlem Because I felt comfortable in my baggy jeans, and the swag kind of keeps people at bay. And it kind of carried on with me, and now I noticed like later I said, oh, I think I'm going to turn into a lady again like this, right? And it's like, I don't know why, but I mean, because I would go back and forth. I had 2 closets for so long, and every time I try to get rid of one closet, the other closet like, no, keep me, and then so I moved to Florida, and it was like I finally got rid of all of my feminine clothing. And it was beautiful to be in Florida because, I hadn't been where you could be so nude. And it was amazing that people weren't looking at me. In Kentucky, people were like judging your facial expressions, but in Florida, nobody, even if you're on the beach, they don't care. And I found that to be very freeing. So I think a lot of my personality and demeanor and character comes from interpreting my feelings in a way that is self-expressive. And I'm super grateful for all the people who have like put their personal lives on the line to make other people who are different feel comfortable in spaces. I'm definitely a huge person. I definitely benefit from a lot of humanitarian work that people have fought and died for. So to be able to wear men's clothes without getting harassed, I'm super, super grateful for that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to the agreeableness of some, raised, AFAB person. I think a lot of, especially when it comes to like the late diagnosis of it all, is that a lot of women are raised to be agreeable, to be nice and to do things and to be giving, right? And not to say that men aren't, but there's a particular kind of way that women are that make it to where I think we're a little bit more susceptible to, especially as autistic people, forms of like emotional abuse, as well as like bullying. It can be very difficult for us to not want to just give. When it comes to gender and masking, I am one of the many autistic people that gender and the binary, it does not really make sense to me. And so how that like presents with masking is I have to make very conscious choices about my safety, about how I present, depending on the room that I'm in, so that I don't have harm come to me. Now, this is the same for just a regular Black woman. It's the same thing, but I have to actively hide parts of myself so that I can gain acceptance, gain a respectability. And that is something that messes with my mental health immensely. And I think that when you're given very early on in society a very set list of ways that you need to conform as a woman, and Black women especially do not have access to those ways to conform and are often masculinized by society, that I think that as autistic people, we tend to when it comes to masking, we tend to, especially when you're a person of color, mask more than I think that white people do.
Yeah.
And what I've seen from my white friends that are autistic people, it's different. You can think, oh, well, I need to make sure that I don't talk about trains in this conversation, where I have to think, well, I have to come across friendly enough to white people so that the conversation can continue, let alone maybe they come across with good feelings at the end. So I do think that you can't really take just gender and like look at it. You have to look at it from all angles because it just represents so differently in each individual autistic person.
Yeah. And, growing up, it was instilled in me to be feminine, to, meet all the standards of what a woman should be, coming up. And being autistic, especially being diagnosed as classically autistic, I tended to have displays and symptoms that weren't feminine. Like I was very blunt, and that's known as a very masculine
Yes.
trait. I was very much like the way I think, the way I would speak was very much strategic and I guess logic based. And I didn't really show emotion because I don't know if I just wasn't in touch with my emotions or I just simply did not know how to feel them or understand them. And so that created a conflict in people's minds about me being a woman. They expect a certain emotional response out of me, but then I don't give that. I come across, like I'm acting masculine in that sense. And then there's the added stress of having to present as being friendly and empathetic around white people because that's something that I struggle with a lot. I come across to a lot of people as cold-hearted and not empathetic. And white people have a problem with that. They think that it's aggression. They think that it's me, being rebellious and whatnot. They don't understand that. And so I feel like even as a Black woman and the stereotypes that come with being a Black woman, we're stereotyped as being, you know, the nurturers, the churchgoers, the hyper religious, care about everyone, kumbaya type women, right? And so they don't get that from me. And then they're shocked that they don't get that from me.
You know, you're having a conversation that's not being had because it's not understood.
Yeah.
And I keep
Yeah.
trying to tell people we are speaking the same language, but we are not speaking the same language. And what you just said, I've been trying to articulate because it's the only way to host these conversations, but the other party has to be willing, and they are not. And if they are willing, it's only based on policy. And that's where they go if they don't like the conversation. And but when I try to use policy, I'm ignored. I asked for the
Right.
the
They think it's
policy
belligerent.
and I don't get it, but I get cornered in a room by myself and harassed by management. But you know, when you want to talk to me about policy, you'll turn the computer around and set it in my face and not listen to what actually happened to me. And you know, I went back and forth with, I really don't understand what unions are. I'm not, listen, y'all, when I say I'm under a rock, I just be living. And, you know, but I trust my intuition because I land in beautiful spaces like this, but I just don't like to engage because at the core, none of it makes sense to me. And so, you know, I kind of look out for support, and in public spaces, it's non-existent almost. I've been throwing some life jackets that came out of nowhere. It's like the Hunger Games, like for real. So again, I'm just grateful for everybody that came to listen. I'm thankful to be hosted on this platform with all these amazing brains.
Same.
This has been very healing. I'm super grateful.
And we got to get together, y'all, for real.
Yes.
Yes, we do. We got to get together, y'all.
Thank you all so much. This has been
Mm.
beyond my expectations. I've just
Yeah.
loved it, and I hate that it has to end. I think most of us could sit here and listen to you for another hour,
Oh, yeah.
but I've learned a lot and laughed a lot, and it's just been really great to hear some honest conversation. So thank you a lot. And hopefully people will reach out to our panelists if you have more questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hosting this. This
Thanks
is
for
wonderful.
having me here. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
For joining us.
It was fun.
Have a good day.
Bye,
You
guys.
too.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Brittany, thank you for letting unicorns speak. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
unicorns, Black unicorns.
Bye, guys.
Bye.